It's one thing that has always interested me when people say that, well, I don't need to be a theologian. All I need is Jesus. Or I don't need theology, and all I need is Jesus. This is a very interesting statement because if you understand what theology is talking about, and if you understand what Christianity and the scriptures is talking about, you have to be a theologian if you're a Christian. You have to understand doctrine if you're a Christian. And reason why that you need to understand doctrine as a Christian is because as a believer, you're going to be up against many people who deny the deity of Christ, for example, or they're going to deny the Trinity, for example. Those are all doctrinal theological concepts that are found in the scriptures. And in order to properly defend the faith and properly defend the Christian doctrine, you have to understand the doctrine. And that is a part of being a theologian. So it is clear in scriptures that we are commanded, we are told to be theologians. Probably not in the exact phraseology that I just used, but in the grand scheme of things, we are commanded to be theologians and understand theological doctrines. It says in the scriptures that we are to be able to give a defense when we are questioned about our faith. And we need to be able to do so in a proper and respectful and loving manner. So we have to be able to give a reasonable defense for our faith, an apologia, and giving the apologia is theology. We have to understand theology to give a proper apologia or argument or defense to defend our faith. There are plenty of Christians out there who believe that you don't have to have theology and you don't have to be a Christian. Even when you mention the name of Jesus and you talk about the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, you're talking theology there, whether you believe it or know it. When you're talking about the Trinity and those things, you are talking about theology there. You're talking about the doctrinal, systematic theological concepts of this Christian faith. So in order to properly defend or properly explain the Christian faith, you have to be a theologian. You have to understand theology. And if you don't, you'll end up with things such as the Jehovah's Witnesses. If you don't understand theology and the scriptural systematic theology, you will end up with things such as Mormonism. You'll end up with things such as Roman Catholicism. These are different constructs who take the scriptures and different parts of the scriptures, and they convolute them and they pollute them with false doctrine, false theology. So if you're a Christian and you call yourself a Christian and you say, well, I don't need to think deeply about these things on the theological platform, then you are actually a problem and not a solution. You're part of the problem, because you are a man of God or even a woman of God, and you have family. Your children are going to be, some majority of Christian families go to public schools, and they go to different environments where the faith of the Christian faith is challenged and is questioned on a textual criticism level, and on a scientific level. The Christian faith is questioned, and you have to be able to give a proper defense. And a part of that proper defense is to be able to think theologically through different concepts of the scriptures. You can't just go to a church and hear a sermon and think that you know theology. You have to study through these things. And if you don't, you're gonna allow allow these false teachings to infiltrate into your family. One day your child is going to come home, and he's going to come home, and she's going to have questions about the Bible and these different concepts of the scriptures, of things that they encountered at public schools. And if you're not a man of God who understands theology, or a woman of God who understands theology, you're not going to have a proper answer. You're going to rely on a pastor to give these answers. And your pastor probably doesn't know either. What if he doesn't know? The answers that are need to be questioned. That's why it's important that the man or the woman in the family both properly understand theology. I just found that this topic to be illuminating a little bit, and I felt that I would like to give some light on the situation. It is proper for the family. It is proper for anyone who calls himself a man of God or a woman of God to understand theology. We are commanded to understand theology. A Christian needs to be a theologian, hands down, no questions asked. You don't need to go to a seminary school to become a theologian. It's a foundational construct. It's a studying of the scriptures. It's opening and buying books of Christian theology. You have to be a theologian. No way around it. No argument there. You have to do it. That's all I want to say. Thank you.